Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellowshow. I am your host, theFellowKGB. You can follow me on Twitter at theFellowKGB. And today, it's June 22nd. It's about 9 p.m. in the evening. I'm going to be moving on to the NFC South in my team previews. We're going to hop into a screen share and start looking at the Atlanta Falcons. So after this, though, I only have, the NFC South and the AFC and NFC West. So we're getting down to the final divisions here. So stay on the lookout for those. But I'm going to try to knock out the NFC South tonight and tomorrow, and we'll keep this thing moving as we get into July. It's end of June now, so I'm just trying to keep putting out content. So if you're new to the Fellowship, check out thefantasyfellowship.com. The Fantasy Fellowshow is on podcasting. We're also on YouTube, so check us out there. But yeah, let's get this started and hop into a screen share for the Atlanta Falcons. So we're on thefellowship.com. I'm just going to select the Falcons here. And we're looking at head coach Dan Quinn. He's been there for a few years. Dirk Cutter, it's his second year with the team. Raheem Morris, I think it's the second year as the coordinator. So continuity, to me, that's the word of the 2020 season with what's going on throughout the U.S. and the world right now is we don't know. There's not a lot of certainty in some situations. So you want situations where the coaches are in place, the teams are in place, the chemistry's built. I don't like a lot of new stuff being introduced. So I like the continuity that I see here. Should keep things simple for Matt Ryan. So Matt Ryan had main quarterback here. Matt Schaub, Kurt Benkert, Danny Etling are the backups. If we look at what Matt Ryan did last year, he didn't have a great year. He did miss a game, but he finished. If you filter, I guess I do by ESPN. But he did finish as quarterback 11 in 15 games. On a point per game basis, though, he still was quarterback 11. So we like Matt Ryan as a QB1 this year. It was a down year last year. He did throw a lot of interceptions, 26 touchdowns, 4,466 yards. That's, again, in 15 games. So I don't know what game he missed. It looks like week 8 or week 9. But super steady. Matt Ryan's one of those guys that you can rely on every week. He's got all the dome games he can handle. And he does add a little bit of rushing upside. Not a lot, but he did rush for a touchdown last year. So this team's going to be better this year. Better running game, better defense. The passing weapons are going to be kind of the same, but you add a Todd Gurley, you add a Hayden Hurst, better defense, better offensive line. Things could be better for Matt Ryan this year. So to me, he's a floor, of a QB1. So 11, 12, that could be his floor finish this year. And so last year, you see him throw the ball 616 times, 408 completions. Again, that's in 15 games. So my numbers are improving in pretty much everything across the board besides rushing stats. But I'm into Matt Ryan at ADP right now. And then if we look quick and see where I have him finishing in my projections, he is out at quarterback 6. So he's got potential to – he's not going to surprise me if he gets into the top 4 and 5 players this year. I like what he's got to work with. If Todd Gurley can stay healthy, if Hayden Hurst can pop off right away. So I like everything about Matt Ryan. Go ahead and target him as your quarterback 1. We're going to skip running backs and get to the wide receiver position. But you're looking at Julio Jones, of course, being a wide receiver 1, top 5 option. He had 99 catches, 157 targets, just under 1,400 yards and 6 touchdowns last year. He's 31, but he's Julio Jones. He can survive it. So Julio Jones is going to hold down the fort as a wide receiver 1. But the guy that I have a hard time getting Julio Jones in drafts right now because he's such a high pick. You have to kind of be in the right spot to get him. And I usually take running back. So I like Julio, top 5 option. But the guy I've been getting more shares of is Calvin Ridley because you can get him, as early as the late 3rd, 4th round. And we see last year he only played 13 games, but he had 63 catches, 866 yards, and 7 touchdowns. And now if I was looking at these numbers earlier, and I kind of extrapolated his season out for a full 16-game season, and he was like wide receiver. If we look real quick, he was wide receiver 27 last year, but he averaged 15 points per game. And if you added 15 points, per the games that he missed, so he missed 3 games, 3 times 15 would be 45 more points. If we added 45 points to his total here of 195, that puts him at 240, and that would have put him over Jarvis Landry here as the wide receiver 12. So I I think Calvin Ridley's got wide receiver one upside this year. And as far as like the 3-4 turn for ADP, you're getting a top 10 receiver potentially, a guy that could catch up to Julio this year. Third year breakout wide receiver is kind of a real thing, and if he can just stay healthy, he's only missed 3 games in his career, but he basically did everything. He did exactly what he did his rookie season, just with 3 games less. So we see a huge step here. He averaged about 2 more fantasy points per game, and then the consistency got a little bit better. So his low games now, his bad games are going to be, 7 points, which we can handle. But we're after these big slob games of 8 for 143 and a touchdown. You see a couple 100-yard games here, only one the year before. So Calvin Ridley's a guy that's on the rise for me. So go ahead and target him as your wide receiver 2 with upside. And then behind them, we got Russell Gage. Russell Gage was on the team last year. He filled in for Mohamed Sanu's role. I don't know if he's probably going to get the job to start the season, but I'm watching Laquan Treadwell, Christian Blake, and Olamide Zaccheaus to see if these guys can compete and get on the field as the 3rd or 4th receiver. But we're not going to be relying on those guys anytime soon. But the clock is ticking on Julio Jones. So a guy like Russell Gage, Christian Blake, Olamide Zaccheaus, these are guys that we should be monitoring for dynasty purposes for a year or two. So keep an eye on those names, and go ahead and continue drafting Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones. Now for the tight end, Hayden Hurst. He was traded from Baltimore for a 2nd-round pick. Austin Hooper is now in Cleveland. So behind Hayden Hurst, it's a couple guys, Kerry Lee, Jaden Graham. These are younger tight ends. And then we got some guys trying to make the team. They didn't draft any tight ends or anything. So it's going to be all Hayden Hurst. The thing about Hayden Hurst is I don't think there's a huge drop-off from Hurst to Austin Hooper. To me, it's like an even exchange. They paid up for it, but that means they're just going to use it. So I feel pretty safe plugging in Hooper's numbers from last year and then for Hayden Hurst, and then just kind of dropping them a little bit just because of the continuity thing that we talked about, where he might have a little bit of a learning curve here with this new offense and new quarterback. But I like Hayden Hurst. He's going to be a potential top 10 tight end. I would say I would bet on him being a top 10 tight end. It's just how comfortable are you drafting him as the ADP of the 7th tight end or something like that. So that's kind of where his value is right now. But we see Austin Hooper with 75 catches, 97 targets, just under 800 yards and 6 touchdowns last year. I don't expect Hayden Hurst to get that volume. So I have Hurst at about 67 catches, 91 targets, just under 700 yards, and 6 touchdowns himself. So it's pretty close to what I see there, but I think some of those Austin Hooper targets might get funneled to Julio and Calvin Ridley a little bit more. So that's why I'm high on those two as well. But I like Julio, I like Ridley, and I like Hayden Hurst. So all that, which just makes me like Matt Ryan even more. So this is a very friendly offense for fantasy football. And I guess now we'll get to the running backs. They added Todd Gurley, free agency. Devonta Freeman, still a free agent. Behind Todd Gurley, we got Brian Hill, Ito Smith, Quadri Allison, and then we got the fullback Keith Smith here. Now, let's take a look at what Devonta Freeman did last year. I think he played pretty much the whole season. So Devonta Freeman, and this offense the offensive line was not good. Defense was terrible. They were just winging they almost had 700 pass attempts. So they were not running the ball at all. We see in 14 games, Devonta Freeman averaged 14.4 fantasy points per game. He caught 4 touchdowns, 59 catches on 70 targets, 410 yards. So Todd Gurley is going to have some action in the receiving game. And then the thing about this team last year is they only averaged 3.8 yards per carry. I think that's going to improve this year with a better offensive line, a little bit more growth from those players at that position. So I see that improving. I see Todd Gurley as an improvement over Devonta Freeman. With Gurley, of course, it's just going to be about the knee, but he's passing his physicals and doing everything that he needs to do right now. So I like Todd Gurley's upside, but he's kind of in the same neighborhood as Calvin Ridley is in terms of ADP. So I would probably turn to Ridley, but if you want to hammer the running backs there, Todd Gurley presents, an RB2 upside, maybe a top 15 back this year. He's going to be used in the passing game, and they're going to give him the ball near the goal line. So I like Todd Gurley. After that, if Gurley goes down, it's going to be probably some kind of combination of Brian Hill and Ito Smith. But a name to keep an eye on is second-year Quadri Allison. He's kind of a bruiser running back. They did give him 4 touchdowns on the goal line last year. So keep an eye on him. And yeah, man, we're just going to, I guess, take a look down here at the draft class. That was all defense. They added a punter, but we see 5 defensive selections here. So they're really focusing on getting that part of the game fixed. And then, yeah, with the offseason additions, Todd Gurley, Hayden Hurst, they added Dante Fowler, some more defense here. So the Falcons, man, they're going to be competitive this year, much more than last year. I can't remember how many games they won last year, but they're going to win more this year, maybe a game or 2, maybe 3 more. So they're going to be chasing the Saints and the Bucs, though. We'll see if that happens to change the outcome. But I don't know. I like the Falcons in the passing game, and if Todd Gurley plays healthy, this team could be pretty competitive. So I think that's going to do it for the Atlanta Falcons. We're going to cover the Carolina Panthers next. So yeah, if you're listening on any podcasting platforms, give us a rating, comment, whatever you can do. Follow us on whatever platform, and if you're watching on YouTube, like and comment the video, subscribe to the channel as we grow this thing. And thanks for listening and hanging out. We'll see you in another video. Peace.